Hi everyone, welcome back to Shades of Guilt. Last time, in episode 1 of Jealousy Kills, we were discussing the case of Antonia and Maria, two 14-year-old girls who murdered their friend Maggie. And we were also discussing how they were caught, how they didn't exactly care about what they did, and how they actually bragged about what they did.
And today we'll be talking about the trials and the prosecutions tried the cases, and at the end of the storyline, we are going to talk about the side effects and what we as a parents or as a community will learn on this case, and why we should also try as much as possible to prevent this incident from occurring again.
Yeah. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and give us your opinion of the case. Uh, if you agree or disagree with us, and give us opinion of the whole episode or just part 2. And please remember to check out part 1.
And again, if you have any questions to ask, please drop in our direct inbox message. We will respond to you about this case. And we'll still have other cases in futures to talk about. And if you feel, in case you have any other case we want to us to analyze, talk about, we are welcome to also drop it, and we'll also try to talk about the case and bring it up to our audience.
And without further ado, let's go to the trial.
So, Sarah, okay, earlier on we were discussing about the case between Antonia and Maria, the kid friend Maggie. Okay, so far from our first episode, we've talked about how everything took place, how they were arrested, how they make the statement. Now today we are going to talk about the trials, how the trials went on. So Stella, can you please walk us through what actually happened at the trials?
Yes.
And how did the prosecutor handle this issue?
Okay, the prosecution actually did handle it very well. The trial began on the 22nd of August 2004 at Plovdiv Regional Court. And the case was held behind closed doors. This is important to remember because the two murderers and also the victim, they were juveniles, so they had to be behind closed doors.
No, why? Why should? Because this is a national, what's it called? Case it's a case that is meant to the public. So why is it going? Why did the government or preschool allow it to be on a closed door?
Because
it's already on the news, on the national.
Yeah,
Listen,
it is on the news, but the general public didn't know details yet. They didn't know how Maggie was murdered. They didn't know where she was hidden. They didn't know that the killers actually bragged about it. And this is how they got arrested. So some details needed to be covered. And in Bulgaria, this is a standard practice. When the case is against minors, it has to be behind closed doors.
So before the trials, how did the community take it? Was there any revolt? Was there any riot?
Outrage. It was an outrage, I swear. People were, first of all, they were scared because those are kids. That could be our kids. That could be anybody's kid. And while you're working and your children are at school, you don't expect them to turn out like this. You don't expect them to kill somebody, especially a friend.
Yeah.
You kind of maybe expect kids to have fights between each other. That's normal. Even a slap or two, that's not such a big deal, even though I don't condone violence. I don't like violence, but yeah, those things happen. And it's not the end of the world, but nobody expects their child to turn out a murderer. And those kids, they were normal kids. They went to school, they had interests, they had friends, they had family, they had neighbors, and it was just anybody's kid.
But was there a protest
I
before the
don't
trial?
remember a protest, but everybody was talking about the case. I don't exactly remember a protest against what.
So why did the government, now I will say the government now, why did the government or the prosecutor decide to allow this case to go on closed door trial? Why
Well,
not make it open, because this is public, the public is already aware of the case?
that's standard practice in Bulgaria. That's how cases against juveniles are held.
So you're
This is
telling me
just a
now,
standard
so you're
thing.
telling me now any case concerning juvenile should be heard on a closed
Yeah,
door, on a closed trial.
that's how the law works here. They would, they would get the facts of the trial, and then they will inform the press and the public. But during the trial, there is there is this thing. It has to be behind closed doors, like that. That's how it's done here.
So, okay, walk us through now. So, what actually happened within the
Yeah.
during the trial?
Okay. 13th of October 2004, the two eighth graders made statements before the court. Antonia cites as a motive that Maggie was more popular and boys liked her more. That was her interpretation of the motive for murdering Maggie. Her the two friends could not come to terms with the fact that um, they were not as popular, they were not leaders, they were not so well liked, and then they plotted the murder because they were envious of her. And Antonia also cites a different motive, which you're gonna be outraged now, but she said that Maggie didn't help her when she was sexually assaulted at the party. And why this is outrageous is I'm so far from not believing victims of sexual assault, because we should believe every victim of that.
Hold on, let me ask again. What party? So, at the age of 14, they were also partying,
Yeah.
or that means that
Okay.
they are taking drugs, or they are
Okay.
also taking other, maybe probably marijuana or other things.
Yeah. Well, in 2004, it wasn't that uncommon for 14-year-olds to go to parties. Um, I know it sounds outrageous, but at the time it was kind of normal. Um, Not in most parents' heads, but like it was kind of normalized. And if you were a badass, if you were, a baddie, and then you would go to as many parties as possible, and you would be considered, hot stuff and everything. So Antonia stated, I'm not sure that happened. It could have happened. That she was sexually assaulted during one of those parties, and Maggie didn't help her. But this is just what Antonia says. It has never been proven to be right or wrong. So I cannot say if this actually happened.
If she states that, according to her report, or
Yeah,
according to her statement at the trial,
yeah.
why did she make any formal report to the police
Well,
that she was being sexually harassed, and that's on a particular day?
there is no record of that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she wasn't, because many victims of sexual assault, they don't file reports, especially in Bulgaria,
Why?
because in our country, unfortunately, there is this very interesting culture of victim blaming. Like, what were you wearing? How did you provoke him? Were you smiling too much? Were you flirting? As if any of that is an excuse. Like, it's so horrible. It enrages me every time. So when any victim, a child or not, is sexually assaulted, it doesn't matter what he or she was wearing, what he or she said, what he or she flirted. It doesn't matter. If somebody is a victim of that, they should be considered a victim, and those people should be prosecuted. But the culture of victim blaming is enormous, and it's so bad that a lot of victims just don't file reports of that. And also, there is what will my parents say? What will everyone else say? There is this very deeply seated shame about being assaulted, which I don't even know what to
To
say
me, in
about
my
that.
opinion, to that, what you're saying, I would say it should be a disconnection between the parents and the daughter. If your child is sexually assaulted, it is the duty. I don't. If you have a good relationship with your daughter and someone assaults your daughter, she should confide in you to tell you that I was assaulted today. It's not a big
Yeah.
thing. It's not a shame. In my own country, when you have close tie, this thing is reported, and it's always a very big offense. And I'll tell the gospel truth, it's a capital offense. You know.
Um, well, yeah, as it should be. The point is that our culture is kind of still half patriarchal of sorts. So it's always on the victim. There is this recent case where a 13-year-old girl had relations with her 31-year-old teacher, and it was blamed on the 13-year-old girl because she dressed in certain ways, and she provoked him, and she was the one who initiated the relationship as if he was brainless, or
So
well, he
now,
kind of is, but
so she's Antonia is now standing on the ground as
yeah,
listen.
she's
This
stating
is what's led
led to the murder.
murder.
Yes, she's stating that, but we cannot be sure that it happened. If it did, I'm really sorry, and this should not happen to anybody. But how is another 14-year-old going to help in that situation anyway?
So for Maria, so what's
Okay,
so
the
what's
other
how did she
defendant,
participated? Because she's also the one that was holding.
the
Like I would say, she collaborated it, into the murder.
uh, the other defendant basically confirmed that the both of them were jealous of Maggie, and they couldn't stand her, and they just wanted to be like her, or they wanted her removed because they wanted to be the ones to be liked. So that's why they did it. That's what Maria said. Yeah, there was no other motive stated, um, and also Maria's parents, they were not in the courtroom.
Why?
That's I don't know, to be honest. Um, I'm really not sure because after the trial, when Maria got sentenced, her father was very vocal about defending her, and it's a surprise to me that her parents were not in the courtroom. Anyway, during the trial, 18 witnesses and 13 experts were summoned, including Maggie's classmates and teachers. Uh, Maggie's mother filed a civil claim in the amount of 100,000 level, which at the time it was an enormous amount of money. And the court actually ruled in her favor, but reduced the compensation to 75,000 leva. And let me be very clear: those money, Maggie's mother didn't file this lawsuit to get any money from her daughter's murder, but um, it's still something. She probably didn't have any money even for a burial at this point.
In my own opinion, for her filing lawsuit for her for the death of her daughter. At my own opinion, I feel that it's blood money, that she's being compensated for the death of her daughter, because the justice she really wants justice for her daughter. She should just allow the law to take its place. Filing for, like, in my own country, or in which,
I get
I
it.
don't understand. I understand. She lost her daughter, but when you like file for what's it called, for retribution, or for like for compensation, like you are feel okay, you are going to pay for damages now. But if you really don't love your son, you don't. You are not. You are fighting this battle. You need justice for your daughter. You don't need the
Okay,
monetary aspect.
let me explain something about the Bulgarian judicial system. She knew she wasn't going to get justice for Maggie
Why?
because, according to Bulgarian law, any crime committed by a minor can only be punished with a maximum of 12 years.
12 years
Yes,
for murder case.
that's the maximum a juvenile can get. So I'm not saying that the money compensates the murder. That's the furthest thing from the truth. But can you imagine? You know that the maximum those girls are going to get is 12 years. How does that sound as a justice to you?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but
Because
that's the law.
if it's in my country, the maximum they should be having should be around 50 years, because they will sentence them to what's it called, juveniles. We have juveniles
Yeah.
rehabilitation center. They are kids, but they will have to go to like 50 years plus, because
Well,
they will, from there they will have to serve
I
those.
think in Bulgaria and in the European Union in general, the judicial system is kind of focused on rehabilitation of youngsters, not so much on punishment. Because think about it, I'm playing devil's advocate for a moment here. Are these girls going to get better if they get 50 years? Are they going to do anything useful with their lives?
Like within that 50 years, there's parole. There's a probably possibility of being granted parole.
Yeah.
That will not, depending on the good conduct of your character within that period of time. If you exhibit within the first 20 years, they say that you show remorse, and you've improved in your character and psychologically, and was psychiatric people and evaluate the person, that okay, the person is good
Okay.
to the rehabilitated into the society. Then it is left for the government to decide, okay, we can grant he or she parole and bring the person back to the
Yeah,
society.
yeah, that's
You
true. But
understand that within that process, you at least you go through like normal things to, in order for you to get back to your feet. You
you
understand?
have to remember that those girls they are going to go to prison. In prison, the environment doesn't actually serve as a growth environment. So
Also, in prison, you have to get to learn other things. That's why you're in
yeah,
prison.
they did. They did.
Yeah, you have to learn other things, and you have. This
Sorry.
is what you're facing. You're paying for what you did.
Yeah,
These consequences of your actions and
but
your
the
deed. That
point
is what you're.
the point is that Maggie's mother filed for the compensation because she knew that she wouldn't be getting
Do you
justice.
think to get as a minor in Bulgaria? Do you think that 12 years is right?
Depends probably on the age and the case, because our next episode, you know what case we're going to discuss. Um, it's going to be a very difficult and very gruesome case from the same year. Um, but that murder in our next episode, that's that's where this guy should have gotten a lot more. But in this case, when you're 14, your brain has not fully developed. So this is basically why they cannot actually physiologically, um, you know, kind of simulate the consequences of what they did. and how this will affect their life, their parents' life, Maggie's family's life, everybody else in the country. Because I can tell you, this was a huge case in the country. It was enormous. Like everybody was talking about it. But at 14, your brain is not fully developed yet. So it kind of makes sense to have lighter sentences for juveniles. If it's going to be 12 years, I'm not sure if 12 years is enough. I'm really not. I think it should be more. And depending on the circumstances, there should be a possibility for certain people to be tried as adults. That's my opinion, personal opinion. And I know a lot of people share that opinion in Bulgaria. But the law, the law is the law. So the judges couldn't possibly give them more than 12 years. But
So-
they're not going to get even that.
So at the trial, they had 12 years.
No, they didn't. So on 13th of January 2005, the judicial panel of the Plovdiv Regional Court decides that the two girls are guilty of the premeditated and particularly cruel and painful murder of their classmate Maggie. Antonia Mateva received 8 years of imprisonment, and Maria, she got 9 years.
Just like that.
Yeah. They cried when they got their sentence. So far, they hadn't expressed any guilt, any remorse, nothing. But now, when they hear their sentences, they're crying. And actually, Maggie's mother was crying too, because that's no justice. That's her child is gone. Nothing is going to bring her back. And the two killers, they're going to get out, and then they're going to have lives, that they can have children. They wouldn't even be like elderly when they got out. Antonia would be 22 when she got out, and Maria would be 23. Also, in addition to the sentence, the two girls were to be publicly reprimanded with their sentence announced aloud in their school. So this is something that usually the court doesn't do. This is only in very serious cases, because usually in Bulgaria it's kind of kept anonymous, and it's kept under wraps, and even when the sentencing is done, this is public shaming basically of the two girls. Not that it did anything.
Okay, why? Okay, let's talk about this now. Okay, the court, the government doesn't want the trials to go publicly now. After the trial, after the sentences, they now decide to like want to show a public example by doing what? It doesn't sound too
So
much.
it was like publicly announced
No,
in
why?
assembly of the school, so that they assembled all the kids in the school, and they told them what the two girls did.
That is so what's the message now?
Oh, the message is, see, this is wrong, and you shouldn't be doing this.
But it's already on the national news, so everybody knows that.
Yeah, they did. But like, it's kind of a public shaming, if you will. But yeah, that was an addition to the jail time. The two lawyers, actually, they appealed the sentence. And that case began on 3rd of May 2005, and is also behind closed doors. Just bear with me, this is important. And at the very first hearing, Maria's father dismissed her lawyer and requested that she be assigned a public defender.
Why?
Because he explained that during the first trial, her lawyer didn't mention that him and his wife were getting divorced.
That doesn't mean anything.
All this, according to him, could have been a mitigating circumstance.
But that is a child facing trial. So what's
Yeah, and also I know a lot of people who have divorced parents. My child has divorced parents, and those people, they just don't go murder people just because their parents are divorcing. Yes, I do understand how a divorce is very hard on the child. And it can lead to depression, it can lead to a lot of unexpressed anger. But that doesn't mean that this child just goes and murders someone. That's not how it works. And also, um, the two girls, remember, they admitted that they were discussing the murder in 2003. So Tony, Maria's father, and her mother, they were not divorcing at the time. So it wasn't the divorce that caused this. Definitely wasn't the divorce. But anyway, the court accepted, and they postponed the trial for 21st of June. The good thing is it wasn't postponed for like 6 months ahead or 8 months ahead. It was like next month. Yeah, we're doing this quickly. We're just doing it. And on 21st of June, the court reached the decision that they needed to reduce the sentences of the two girls by 1 year and 6 months. So now Antonia has 6.5 years and Maria has 7.5 years
wow.
of prison.
So what is the reaction of the Maggie's mom?
Well, she didn't comment on this one, but I can imagine how she was feeling. The court actually didn't clarify the motives for this decision.
For that the system is. Why should the court grant such leniency
I don't know.
to a capital premeditated murder? That means is the court trying to, or the system trying to encourage minor from commits murder in future, that whenever you commit murder, I will give you the capital punishment of life sentence of 12 years. When you retry, we as a system, we have the privilege to also reduce your sentence.
Yeah. My best guess, and it's just a guess. It's not confirmed by anything, and it's not being made public knowledge or anything. My best guess is that there were some procedural mishaps, so this is why this happened.
Are you trying to see someone influencing this case?
No, I'm saying that, for example, if the people leading the investigation, if they made mistakes in leading the investigation, this is often a reason why the lawyers appeal the sentence, and it's being reduced because somebody made a mistake. But in that case, Maggie didn't make a mistake. Maggie's mother didn't make a mistake.
This is a murder case. It is clear murder case. They committed murder, premeditated murder. So there's no mistakes. There's a fact, and there's an evidence, and they have their investigation. So there shouldn't be any reason why the what's it called judiciary, or what's it called how do you call it in Bulgaria, the prosecutor, we just lawyer will just go, oh, there's a mistake and these people should have a lighter system.
Oh no, the prosecutor definitely didn't say that, but the lawyers did. But this is often a practice in Bulgarian court, and it's infuriating because there is also a very horrible case of a woman who got murdered by her husband, and initially the court gave him life without parole, but now they reduced his sentence to 20 years.
So what is trying to say now that
because there were mistakes done by the people who investigated, as if those mistakes were made by the murder victim, by the child who he left with no father or no mother. Also, his father was an accomplice in that murder, by the way. But yeah, so the sentence is reduced. So we're waiting for the next court session.
Okay,
anyway,
let's not deviate from that.
Yeah.
If there's a mistake from any trial, it is the duty of the magistrate judge, to tell the counsel, okay, let's set another date for a trial. go back and do your what's it called investigation and bring facts
No,
to
no,
you.
no. It's not that. It's like, for example, if I'm a police officer and I'm leading the investigation, but then I forget to question some witnesses, or I forget that those witnesses need to have lawyers with them present. This is the procedural mistakes that I'm talking about. So if any of these happen, this is a reason for the lawyers to bring the case to the appeal and get light sentence, and that's it's outrageous. It's horrible.
I get you that. I get you. But if the prosecutors from the defendants bring a case like this to the magistrate court, it is the duty of the state, because this case is the state
Okay.
against Maria and Antonia.
Mm-hmm.
The states have all the necessary resources
True. True.
to prosecute the case.
Yeah.
So when the defendant lawyer bring this case, it is left for what's it called, the state,
Mm-hmm.
to counter it. Okay, no, you brought, we make mistake. Okay, we can go for retry again. Retry is always acceptable.
No, the
So
mistakes were already made during the investigation, and the prosecution is not part of the investigative team. The prosecution is what comes after the investigation. So the prosecution has what the investigation gave them.
was the
They
trial
have nothing
was the
else.
trial on the highest court, the
Yes.
lower court, or
Yeah.
so
No,
there was no
it
appeal.
went to the highest court, and
There was no appeal.
no. So they got 6.5 years and 7.5 years. But the thing to me is it's really hard to believe that just two normal teenagers can hate someone that much that they're going to kill her. Like, it's incomprehensible to me that two girls can go that far. And of course, there was blaming the parents, blaming the girls, blaming the teachers, blaming society, blaming everybody. But I still want to know exactly what happens. And according to friends of the girls, um, they were smoking weed, they were skipping school, and they were kind of arrogant at school. They were trying to be, the scary badass girls and whatnot. Uh, and the fact that nobody actually paid attention um, is something that brings me to the what's wrong with the educational system in Bulgaria. Basically, you've got one teacher who is teaching a class of 30 kids, and they will only pay attention to the ones that cause the biggest chaos. And even though Maria and Antonia, they were rebels, but they were not causing chaos. They just skipped school instead. So it was kind of normal for that time to skip school. And the parents, they were working all day. They kind of didn't know. And to me, everyone failed. The, everyone failed those two girls, and most of all, they failed Maggie. Some people believe that teachers should be raising kids, which no, because teachers are there to teach, they're not to raise your child. So you should be paying attention to your child. But if you're working 12 hours a day, that's pretty hard to do too. And there could be multiple reasons behind what happened. For example, Antonia, she didn't like studying. She was complaining that nothing gets into her head, and she just had no interest in school. She was the person that would hide her feelings. She would not express being angry, being frustrated. She wouldn't express even love and joy. She would just be indifferent to everything. And the psychologist and psychiatrist who examined her, because obviously there was the court appointed psychiatrists and psychologists to give an expertise. Um, they said that she was very nervous by nature and she would get angry at the smallest thing. Um, she didn't have a boyfriend because she was not allowed to bring boys home. According to her, it was completely normal to smoke weed and drink at 14.
Is it legal to smoke weed at 14 during those days in Bulgaria?
I don't think so. Not that I remember. But again, I was kind of shielded from that. I don't remember smoking weed being so normal. But I certainly remember that a lot of the kids who wanted to be cool, who wanted to be looked up to, they would do that. Or they would say they did it just to be edgy, to be cool, which is ridiculous, but yeah, they would say they did. Um, but yeah, according to Antonia, that was really normal. It was nothing special. And according to her, also, the highest you can get is to have money to buy anything you want. So that was, uh, her top priority, to get a lot of money and buy everything she wants. And I'm gonna kind of double down on this one. There is this culture, you know what chalga is. And that's a type of music that um, kind of teaches people that the most important things in life are money, food, drink, and sex. And everybody wants just that. You want fast cars, you want a lot of women or men, depending on which gender you are or what your orientation is. And that should be your highest priority. And you should be, striving to get to that point, to have money and buy, you know, drugs and drinks and whatever. And that's a whole culture in Bulgaria, and it's really bad. But people like Antonia, they think this is cool. This is somehow what they want to do. And yeah, that's who Antonia is. And she kind of resolved her problems with aggression. She would get into fights, and she would surround herself with people so she doesn't feel lonely. But she was still lonely, and she actually grew close to Maria because Maria was kind of the opposite of her. Maria is cheerful and sociable. She's nothing like Antonia.
So, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
After the sentence, more or only happened? Were there remorse after they came out from the after they served the sentence? They came out to
I
give a
think,
public um, what's it called statement stating that they are really sorry for their action.
well, they didn't say that, uh, but I think they were pretty remorseful even during serving their sentence because there are letters to their parents where they do express remorse, and they do feel guilty. Um, but Antonia says in a letter that, yeah, she feels sorry, but what can I do? Like, kind of like that. Um,
Okay.
mhm,
Now let us to our listeners. You've heard the these the stories of the killing
mhm,
of of a a best friend,
mhm,
Antonia Maria, killing
yeah,
Maggie, or because of envy.
yeah.
Yeah, and today we are going to talk about the consequences. We will also talk about right now what do we think would have maybe probably prevented the murder. What role should the society have played they should have seen this signal before that time. Why is the teachers or what why did the parents not seen these things before this action took place?
Well, I can explain about the teachers because I've been a teacher in a school, and it's really hard to pay attention to everyone. So you're in Bulgaria, the educational system is a little bit different to other countries. So basically, you have a class of, let's say, 25 kids, and this class has the same subjects, the same classes, and they go together all day long, every day for how many years? So uh, you as a teacher go to that class and then go to the next class which also has 25 people, and the next class and the next class and the next class, and you teach. Normally, if you're a teacher, you teach from, let's say, fifth grade to eighth grade. So in fifth grade you've got five classes. Each of those five classes has 25 children.
Mm-hmm.
So today you have classes with every single class of fifth grade. You couldn't possibly imagine how many children you have to teach in a semester. And I was a teacher. I found it very, very hard to learn my students' names because there are too many, and you kind of learn the ones who are the worst, and you kind of learn the ones who rise up above the others. But the average kids, you just don't pay attention. Not that you don't pay attention at all, but you don't kind of double down on their issues because you're a teacher. You're not there to raise them. That's the parents' job. That's not the teacher's job. And also, if they're not causing a lot of trouble or they're not super excellent, like obviously you're kind of going to sort of dismiss
And when you
those
say,
kids.
when you said you as a teacher, you are not supposed to raise a child
Yeah.
under your care, I don't understand, because the reason why the parents decide to bring their children or kids to the school is also for you as a teacher to also impart a positive impact. And while doing it, you are also raising a child that will also impact in the society tomorrow. That because
Okay.
children are the futures of tomorrow. The way the children, the parents can't do it all 100%. That is why the teachers also come
Okay.
in between.
Yeah.
Are you not saying that
No, I'm not.
is
I'm not
this not the
saying.
role of the
No.
teacher to do? Because I'm also a once a teacher. At least I teach for 7 years.
Okay. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be impacting those children. My point was a little bit different. That I'm sorry. That it's not my job to instill like don't steal, don't kill, don't you know do wrong in the children that I'm teaching. I'm there to educate those children, not necessarily raise them. That's the job of the parents,
So when
and
you
that's
see,
the job of the parents the first seven
so
years,
when
by
you
the way.
notice a child, when you notice a red flag on a child, so what do you do as a teacher?
Well, if I notice a red flag, I obviously would point that child towards the psychologist in school, because in every school there is a therapist. So you would point the child to the therapist. But basically, you don't have a mechanism that can make the child go. You can suggest that, but you cannot make them go. Other mechanisms that you have would be to talk to the parents. But if the parents don't think there is an issue, what can you do? Like it's literally all you can do. You can point the child to the right direction, but if the parents don't agree with you, which a lot of parents don't, because there is also a shame culture in mental health issues in Bulgaria. What will people say, as if that matters? But so you can point the child to a psychologist, to a psychiatrist if needed, but you cannot make them go. That's not how it works.
For me, in this case, it have been prevented, in my opinion, because the the system failed Maggie.
Yeah.
The what's it called? The school also failed her. The teacher should,
Yes.
because according to the story now, that these girls were skipping classes.
Yeah.
The teachers or the school authority should know that.
Yeah.
And secondly
They
again,
should.
yeah, and they should have noticed that and communicated that to the parents. Like, oh, so number of days your kids are not coming to school. Are you taking notes? Be- at least when I was teaching back
Mm-hmm.
those
Mm-hmm.
days, I literally know most of my students.
No, yeah.
Those ones that are not so good, or that I feel that they exhibit bad characters or
Mm-hmm.
questionable character, what I did is that I report directly to the principal, and I tell the principal, please, can you reach out to the parents, because this they are constituting nuisance. I can't control them now. So they invite the parents to the school, in case the teachers, in case some, we know some parents when you call them, they want
Yeah.
to sound defensive. So now we want to, like, okay, the child is in school, invite the parents to the school. When
Okay.
you invite the parents to the school, you will now bring the record and you set it straight in presence of the child. You say you tell your parents that you always go to school. Look at the
Mm-hmm.
record. In school, you were absent so day. Can you please tell your parents of parents? So your parents will be, you're telling to your
Okay.
parents
Okay.
face to face now.
I, I,
Yes.
I get it.
So now, okay, I will notice that they are hanging around with some couple of guys, and these guys, they are smoking, and I'm probably sure your kids is also indulging in. I'm not saying they are doing it, but there's every probability that they
Yeah.
are also
I
doing it.
get what you're
Though,
saying.
you see where the system, the school
I,
failed.
I get what you're saying. However, at the time, it's very different now. But at the time, so basically, if you skip school, you just go get a medical note that you were sick, and the teacher couldn't possibly know if it's true or not. So, if I get as a teacher a medical note that the student was sick, what can I do? Why would I inform the parents? Because normally the parents would be the ones who took the child to the doctor who gave them a note. Now it's very different.
So if your child is skipping school now, you took her to the hospital. So you don't ring the school. My child is
So
not coming to class today.
now,
I'm at the hospital with her.
no, now it's very different. Now it's everything is electronic. So basically, when when I take my child to the doctor files a note which goes directly to the school, and also the parent receives an email every time that the child is absent from school. So I get emails for every class that my daughter skipped. But then that was not the case. You wouldn't get informed if unless your child had like multiple unexcused absences, or if your child like skipped a month altogether. Like you wouldn't get informed, you wouldn't even be emailed. Now I know everything that happens in school. It's just not a problem. But back then it was very very different. So it was easier to get away with those things. And if you're smart, you wouldn't be getting um, a lot of medical notes. You would skip only certain classes, and not every teacher would, note absences. So it wasn't such a big deal. I can tell you, I skipped a lot of school too, even though I was studying earlier, so I was also getting medical notes. But that's not the point. If you're not creating problems at school, even if you're kind of skipping class here and there, nobody thought that it was a big problem. Now it is, but back then it wasn't. It was not like, yeah, they skipped a couple of classes. My chemistry teacher, she would say, like, if Stella is here, nobody is absent. So it was that bad. I was skipping a lot of chemistry classes because I didn't like it. There was no reason for me to do so, but
So
never mind that.
Stella, so are you not telling me that the teachers or the school and not to they are not to blame or part of the we shouldn't blame the system or the
No, the system was wrong. The whole system was wrong. That was the point. That it's not this teacher or that teacher or the homeroom teacher or the principal. It was the whole system was wrong. The whole system didn't work towards making the children stay in school. That was the point. So the system was wrong. It wasn't the teachers in particular, because at the time the teachers had to do classes, and then they had to go home and check, you know, what was the word? It ran away from me. They needed to check tests, and then they needed to write down by hand everything that happened in the class, but they had to do it in a different book. So basically, people would think the teacher would finish work at 12 p.m., but the teacher would be staying in school until 6 p.m. because they had administrative work to do. So it was a very different time, and the whole system was totally wrong. It was outdated, and it was wrong, and it led to a lot of stuff like that. Obviously, not all murders, but you know, um, it wasn't a good system back then. Not that it's a lot better now, but that's a
but
whole different can of worms.
but back then but there was the system also checking emotional psychology of every child in school.
No, you would only go to the therapist in school if you felt like you needed to. And those children that need to go to the therapist, those are very emotionally intelligent children. Not every child feels like they need help. Not every child wants to get help because they would feel like, yeah, if I go to the therapist, everyone is going to think I'm crazy and they're going to make fun of me. Uh, a lot of children do and think that they don't need help. They're okay. They're the cool kids, everybody is looking up to them. So why would they go to the therapist? Obviously, there is nothing wrong with smoking weed. There is nothing wrong with skipping class. Why would they need why would they need help?
Oh, there's a great what's it called? There's something wrong with smoking weed, man.
Yeah, I
When
know,
you smoke
but
with
the kids
emotion,
don't think
you
that.
get high. When you get high, man, it triggers some what's it called? Psychological
Yeah,
effect on you, man.
basically your
You are
development stops at 14 when you start smoking weed at 14 because your brain is not developed yet. So those kind of I hesitate to call the weed drugs because it's not really, but
it's drugs. No, it's drug. Weed is
oh
drugs because sometimes it makes you hyperactive. Sometimes it doesn't make you think
yeah, sometimes they can make you depressed.
straight,
You
depressed.
can have a really
Sometimes you
bad
makes
trip
you
from weed.
do take some bad decision you are not
Yeah,
supposed to be because
that's
you're
true.
not
That's true.
actually at your right senses at that moment when you are high.
Yeah,
Because if it let's relate it now, before the
but then
pre-modern,
again, that's the
do you
same thing
think
for
do you
alcohol.
think this they before they killed Maggie they were high? Let's because
I don't know
it could be they were
that.
high
Yeah,
because we
that's
don't know
possible.
because yeah
I
they
don't
or
know.
they've already taken some drug or no uh, drink and they smoke because they said they had a smoke but we didn't know the actual smoke they say if it's actually cigarettes or they took weed
I don't think even they got blood samples.
and
I don't think they would test it for
okay,
that.
that is how that okay because it's already
That's another
it's
mishap.
yeah
Yeah.
yes and okay and it's already 48 or 72 hours before the police could have bring them in for questioning. Excuse me. So what do you think the parents should have done earlier on to
Um,
prevent all these
to
issues
be
from
honest,
happening?
I'm not very fond of any of the parents in this case, except for Maggie's mother, who did nothing wrong. But um, Antonia's parents, they told the court and the journalists that they don't think they did anything wrong in raising her, which I'm not sure. Like your child killed someone, so probably you did something wrong in raising her. Like I don't know. To me, that seems like not taking any responsibility of what your child did, and your child is 14, so you cannot even say like she's an adult. She wasn't. She was a minor. Um, and actually, Maria's father, I don't like this person either. That's my personal opinion, obviously, because actually he's a psychologist, and what he tried to do was drag Maggie's name through the mud after she was murdered. He kind of came out with a very absurd statement, like um, Maggie had a boyfriend who was a pimp, and he tried to recruit the girls for prostitution, and this is why they killed her.
The parents know about this.
Oh, first of all, there is no indication that Maggie had a boyfriend, let alone a pimp. And there is no proof of that. And I
Okay.
don't know where he's got this from. Like,
So that means the parents are negligent for what's it called of their daughters well being at home. So how can you be as a parent? You don't actually understand your daughter. You don't communicate. I believe you have a daughter, so
yeah,
you should
yeah.
know everything about your
Well,
whereabouts. You have a
everything.
boy.
I don't think I know
No, at
everything, but
least
when she has a problem, she comes to me and
confined
discusses
to
the
you.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah, so So
Um,
Maggie or Antonia parents doesn't have such. I
well,
tell you, they don't have such
Maria's
relationship.
father, he said that he feels guilty, which at least is some accountability. And also, Maria was a straight A student. She was a really, really good student. She was incredibly smart. She is. I'm talking as if she's dead. No, Maria is incredibly smart. She would read a lot, and she was a very, very good student. And her father thinks, I don't know if that's the case, but that's his opinion, that because they were not very financially doing well, and she was deprived of a lot of material things. That's where the envy grew from, and that's kind of what led to the murder. Also, the pimp theory, whatever. I don't believe a word of that. But yeah, he at least took some accountability. Antonia's parents didn't. They just don't feel guilty. Like, I don't know. I would feel I would feel such guilt if I were them, but I guess every person is different, maybe.
Wow. Well, in this case, to my viewers, I feel that Antonia and Maria didn't kill Maggie for money, for revenge, or for self-defense.
No.
She was actually killed because of her personality, her
Yeah.
beauty, her popularity, her confidence, her
Yeah.
stability in the society, and her attachments to other
To other
boys,
people,
the
yes.
people around her.
Yeah.
This is what resulted to what actually lead to a premeditation of her murder. The general what was it called issue here is that they were really envy, and
Yeah.
this is why we as parents or our parents need to teach our children how to deal with what's it called poor emotional control.
Yes.
Envies can lead to these things. Now let's analyze these things. It's not as if it's not good for us to shower our kids with good things. You understand? Because if back then in 2001, I could remember in Nigeria, that's when we start using cell phone.
Yeah,
Not
pretty
everybody
much the
has cell
same.
phone.
Well, yeah,
I could remember my
obviously.
first cell phone.
Yeah. Me
I
too.
could
It was like
really,
this big.
yeah, like I could literally. I was actually admire those people that were having cell phone that time,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
It was
wasn't so
cool to have a cell
envy.
phone. Come
But
on.
I would
Yeah.
wish to like whoa
I
them.
would never murder someone
eh,
for their cell
but
phone. Like, that's
okay,
not
see,
the point.
and this is where the emotional
Yeah.
control should have come into place because then Maggie's parents were like, Maggie mom were like,
Yeah.
oh. And Maggie was doing this out of love. My parents, like, was telling my friend, and probably Antonia and
Well,
Maria couldn't handle these issues.
I think that
Envy.
you cannot actually foresee stuff like that. Like you buy your kid a new phone and somebody decides to murder her for her phone. Like that's in no parent's mind actually. Like how would you even think that? Like it's impossible for me to think that if I buy my kid something, somebody's gonna murder her for it. Like that's impossible to think of. But you're right that we shouldn't be showering our kids with presents, and we shouldn't be parenting from guilt. However, I really don't feel that the material things were the reason for it. It was more um, those two girls, they didn't get enough attention, so they decided to murder the person who gets attention in hopes that they will be like next in line. This is my take. I'm not sure if I'm right, but this is what I feel happened. Um, and yeah,
Yeah, I feel no. If we just let's think about it. Is all these things are as a result of accumulated build up stuff,
yeah,
envy.
yeah,
Envy can lead to a lot of things. Generally, it is not okay. They want to validate themselves, that
yeah.
want to be like her. You
They
can't be
do.
like her. Maggie is who she is. You can't be like Maggie. Everybody have his own personality and characteristics. This is what the guests feel like. Oh, why is Maggie having all these things? Why not me having all these things? You
Yeah,
know, and Maggie so much trusts them that whenever she have these things, are like, oh, she wants to share it
yeah.
with her
And,
friends,
and, and
and at the
see,
end of the day, it's like her friends is
there's
always
something else. Would you prank somebody that you're scared of?
no,
Like, she was so comfortable with them that she decided to do a
because
silly
she
joke on
trusted
them
them.
because she trusted
You
them. They were
trusted
her
them because
friends.
if you trust someone, you don't have to start having second thoughts,
Yeah,
because
true.
she will never think of a day that our
Yes.
best friends will do this kind of evil act. Let's imagine when they were like strangling her. How did the Maggie feel? How did Antonia feel when she was taking her so-called precious friend's life that moment?
Well, Antonia said that she was crying the whole time while she was strangling Maggie. I feel like it doesn't matter because Maggie is dead and there is nothing that's gonna bring her back. Anyway, the two girls are now free. They finished high school in prison, which is, I have to say this, I admire them for it because in prison, that's very difficult in Bulgaria to finish high school. They want to have professions, they want to have normal life, but initially, after they were released, nobody would hire them, which I wouldn't hire them. Like, why would I? So it's said that they kind of turned their homes into prisons of their own, and they didn't go out much. And it's not confirmed, but people say that they left Plovdiv because they were scared of facing everyone on the streets because everybody knew about the case.
Okay, you guys, you've heard it all about the story of Maggie, Maria, and
Mm-hmm.
Antonia. We want to hear your view, your opinion. Feel free to share it on our comment listings about this case,
Yeah.
and we look forward to our next episode. Do well, subscribe, and follow.
Our next episode is going to be another juvenile murder, which is even more gruesome and even worse, in my personal opinion. And we're going to see a psychologist who is going to help us understand the motives, probably, and from his perspective, how he views those juvenile criminals. And yes, again, as Richard said, please share your opinion. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Do you think anything else could have been done? Do you think everyone just failed Maggie, or do you think there is some hope for those girls still? Let us know. Thank
And
you.
also let us know what role we as a parents could play to prevent us such things from happening in the future. And do well to turn up your notification bell so that when we upload any video or put any video, you'll be notified and you can also see our videos.
Thanks again for watching. Bye.
Bye.